go. I got it up and running. So, boom. First disclaimer is that all of this insight is based off, my expert opinion. This is solely off of, what I picked up from doing, day-to-day operations here at SoSouth distribution. And it's just me and my thoughts as to what I think and how these processes go. So first, it'll be, what is a community, or what is an audience? And an audience is a group of people uh, who listen to a musical act or may attend a concert, and they may let music shuffle and become I wouldn't even say a fan, but just a listener of whoever the artist may be, whether it's a podcast, rapper, pop singer, whatever the case may be. They're there. They're just for the casual listen. They're in the space of discovering, but not necessarily tuning in and figuring out what it is that you do. And then I'm gonna dive a little deeper. So a fan would be someone who may take that next step and listen to a couple of songs, or they can resonate with you, or find something that they like about you. Not full fledged go into that your space as to who and where you are. Um, but they may follow you on Instagram. Like I said, they may follow you on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever the case may be, but they're not the people who are overly seeking what it is that you do, what you provide. Now, a super fan is everything that I just mentioned. They're the ones that want to buy the merch. They follow you on every platform. They want to be included in everything that you do. A super fan, I feel like, is in best terms is a person that is almost obsessive with their infatuation with whatever it is that this artist may have going on. And that at the end of the day, for artist podcast, like that's the person who you want to resonate with and go after. So what's the difference between the two? As I've said just a minute ago, the fan may stream the song, they may add it to a playlist, but doesn't necessarily follow your growth. They may be inconsistent across social media platforms. And they may follow you, but they may not be the ones that like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever the content and the material may be. Um, they're unlikely to be interested in the merch aspect, or if you have a physical product, CDs, vinyls, whatever the case may be. They're just there for the thrill or just a ride, not really in that car with you. They typically find you through the algorithms, but like I said, it's not direct intent as to what it is that you are and resonating with you all the way. But a super fan listens to every new release. They're hardcore fans that know the lyrics to everything. They follow your career. They can tell you the little things that happened at the beginning stages of your career on down to what happened at the end, or maybe in the middle, whatever. They're the ones that comment, share, tags friends, help push your content, and push your message to the world. They'll be the ones that other people kind of look at to be like, what is it about that artist that makes that person be that big of a fan for? Yeah, they buy into the artistry. They seek the music. They sign up for your email list, RSVPs, and everything as far as how they interact with you is overly intentional. Now, in the podcasting space, the pros of a community, or what it looks like to build a community there, is average podcasters listen to 80% of the podcast. The retention rate of the person sitting there engaging with the content, in contrast to music, is higher, solely because I would say the topics are more on brand and in tune with what the artist or what the viewer may be wanting to resonate with. The competition is massive, but it's misleading. And I say that solely because with podcasts, there's so many different avenues as to what you can go about talking about. It's misleading solely because what you dive into can make you specific to whatever niche and kind of build from there. Consistency beats virality, so where you're not necessarily looking for a viral moment, but you're wanting to be more so consistent with it because they're wanting to consume you, and the more you give them to consume, the more they're able to go about leading into whatever it is that you're producing and putting out. Podcast listeners often have a deep listening habit where they're truly listening to understand what it is that you're conveying and wanting to be a part of you in that process and truly understand what it is. And there's some fans spend money on product as well, whether it's merch, special exclusive event where you'll be somewhere hosting something. Those fans go about doing that. Now, the cons of a podcasting community is the podcast phase, and that is basically that describing that what is it 85 or just fading out the longevity of podcasts or the work that it takes to put a podcast together is so much to the point that most podcasts don't make it past episode 3. They just fade out as far as just wanting to do it because it's so much in tune to it. The time that you got to invest into it is heavy. It's like a lot more work that you put into it than what you kind of get out from it on the back end. There's a lot more editing. Editing could be 5 to 10 hours each for each little video that I've read somewhere. Monetization is tough. It's just a lot more effort you have to put into one product and hoping that you get a max turnout, which isn't always the case because community isn't necessarily a thing that you can kind of like makeshift and force to be a thing. You have to go about building that organically, and whichever way you go about doing it, you just have to stick to it and hope that the people stay rocking with you. Oversaturated market because most people think it's easier to go about doing. A lot of people say that they're going to put up a podcast and they start this or they start that, but again, because of Podfast and the fact that 75% of the people don't make it past episode 3, oversaturation is a thing, but it's also a reason why the viewership and the entry of the barrier of entry is kind of high, solely because it's like it's just too much to choose from, and then it's too much for you to kind of find a way for you to be different from others. And then I would say the high expectation because people are listening for deeper reasons. They have an expectation of whatever it is that you're putting out that they want you just to exceed and convey to them a certain way. What I'm saying. Okay, components that I feel that can attract like the super fan. Now that we didn't talk about all of that, I don't know, and I'll tell anybody, it's not really for us to go about saying what it takes to make this and make that person be a super fan for you. But there are things that you can do and walk in as a creative to go about making sure that these people stay locked in with you. One of the components that I believe is beneficial is vulnerability. So just being vulnerable, the ability to share your authentic emotions, your flaws, and whatever the traits that are that you want to convey to people. I think that's a good step because it just shows that you're a person and people want to resonate with people who are regular people like them. So that's one step, one of the components. The next component I would say is authenticity. So no matter what it is, you're gonna have to find out what is true to you. I'm gonna be the first to tell anybody, don't necessarily change up what you got going for any person, situation, trend, fad, whatever. Be as authentic to you as you can be because somebody else will resonate with what you got to put out or pick up what you're putting down. So as long as you just stay authentic and vulnerable in the messaging, people should go about converting over or attracting to what it is that you go about putting out. The next thing I'm gonna say is consistency. Like I was talking about in a podcast, where it's the same in music. Consistency probably is one of the hardest parts to do because it's like a lot of the back end work that you don't see is not instant gratification. But it's definitely a thing. Whereas the more you do, the more you'll potentially see on the back end. So if you're consistent in dropping music, like you should see yourself grow steadily. And the same goes as for podcasts. As you drop more and more podcasts, you should see, okay, my fans, my community likes this. So that would mean it let me lean towards this. And I mean, just be more consistent and intentional with whatever it is that you see that people are leaning in to your product about. The next thing I'll say is brand identity and creativity. So kind of in hand with um, kind of hand in hand with the other components, just authenticity, sticking true with whatever your message is. Like if you gotta want to make it to where when a person sees this logo, this consistent color scheme, whatever it is the case may be, whenever they see it, they resonate with whatever it is that you want them to. So if it's you and deaf, if you will, just like on a nostalgic tip. They had the little Afro guy with the mic, and I mean, anytime you seen like the little a caricature with the Afro, at least I did. I would always think of deaf and just like kind of like associate that with that brand and whatever it is that they had going out at the time. And then even the creativity of knowing whatever it is your brand is and finding something that helps identify it without all the time just saying something is a good thing to have. And also try to display when trying to build a community. And the last thing I'm gonna say, or as a component for building that super fan base, is exclusivity. Finding a way to make people engage with you on a not so loud basis. That comes in the form of, like I said before, RSVPs, email lists. People do discords and telegrams and things of that nature, where the artist or the podcast may sit there and speak to their community directly. I know that there's other platforms or services like set.live where you get the artist information. I mean, not the artist information, the fan information, phone number, email address, names, the whole nine, to where you can market to them directly and kind of send them messaging and making them feel exclusive to whatever it is that you're putting out, to where they just feel a part of something beyond just a regular group and a regular fan base, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go into the creatives that I believe went about best turning the average listener into a believer as to whatever it is that they have going on. So I'm gonna start with Beyonce, and I feel like this is very rhetorical. A lot of these are going to be rhetorical, but this is just to convey and show artists and other podcasters that went about using those components to maximize their career to the tenfold. So Beyonce started off in the girl, the child group Destiny's Child, um, lead singer, solo actress, artist, everything, Grammy Award winner, the whole nine. She's gone about the Beehive. The Beehive itself is an exclusive group that people kind of can join into, or I'm not even sure how you join into that. It's like a secret society, if you will. It's just like a group of fans or super fans that come together and kind of move the needle as to on a fan base. The best way I can put it is a secret society. I feel like Beyonce is vulnerable in her music. She's consistent as far as the production and the quality of content she puts out every time she drops. She's an embodiment of really all the components it takes to really create and build that super fan base. She does it to this day and been doing it for like the past 20 plus years. Next, I'll go to Young Boy. Now he's a little newer, and I'm not going to say he new because he's been in the game for a while, just younger, and really seeing how he's maximizing and building that fan base tenfold is really just interesting to watch. For him, I feel like he's over vulnerable in his music. Though he expresses himself a lot, and then but he's consistent in his messaging and the things that he does. I feel like it's like one of those, he you would think that he's not going to be as open as he is, but then when he's open to whatever the question may be, or the context that may be asked to him, he's able and willing to give you his true authentic self and speaking about whatever the situation may be. And I think that that true and raw emotion helps build a fan base. I feel like people resonate with him solely because they're like, man, he's been through so much, or I can't believe, or I can't even imagine that I can make it through whatever said situation. And I mean, I've even seen old videos of the concert going around, what the viral video of the 41-year-old guy meant there, talking about how he was just as turned with all the kids and what the concert meant to him. So that just shows me, like, just doing this or having those five components, you really don't limit yourself as to who really receives your message, and your fan base can be beyond just a certain demographic. Next, I go to is Nicki Minaj. Now, everyone knows she has the same type of fan base and community like a Beyonce does. I wouldn't say she's that big of an artist as Beyonce is, but she's definitely, or her community is just as vicious, I would say. So the barbs, again, I'm not too sure as to what makes them, or what makes a fan want to be a barb, or what makes a barb a barb. But the thing is, they ride for Nicki Minaj no matter what, and that's what you want your fans to really do for you. They're gonna listen to the new music. They're gonna watch the new videos. They're gonna buy the merch. They may show up. They're gonna show up to her shows. Um, they're gonna attack and bully other artists and rappers if they go against the grain for her. And I mean, I'm not gonna say that that's necessarily a good thing, but to know that you have a community, that's a prime example of a community, really, like just everything in a nutshell. Even on down to Travis Scott, the Ragers. There's a true wave of, I don't even know what you want to call them. It's just like head busting, mosh pit, jumping, sweating people who would love to do that, and all in the name of Travis Scott. It's something that he just brings out of people. And I feel like, which one of those did he use in my instance? I feel like he used just true authenticity. Travis Scott never tried to be a gangster. Travis Scott music isn't overly shoot 'em up, chitty chitty bang bang, and none of that. Like, he's just focuses on good production, being himself, letting it know what he where he's at. His brand identity and his creativity is probably what makes him himself. And yeah, Travis Scott is another walking embodiment of someone who's taken a community and truly maximized it for his career. On down to streetwear, clothes, the collabs with Jordan. I think he has the and I think I seen somewhere where he has the most impressive or the most collab shoes with the brand out of anyone, or with the highest grossing revenue or something like that. I'm not sure, but that's still all emphasis of his community. That's what his people like, so he leaned into it and, you know, gave them more of a product that they can respect. And not Travis Scott. Nipsey Hussle is there for more obvious reasons. The marathon continues. You know, he started with the whole brand identity of just wealth and wanting to be in superseding your situation. He was authentic. He was vulnerable. He was everything that I can think of as someone who was and did the necessary steps to build this super fan base and community. It's people who listen and like Nipsey Hussle solely because of how he thought about relationships, and I mean, um, how he dealt with certain people, his empathy that he had for his community. Like, it's so much more that you can lean into beyond just the music whenever you've done those five components in building your fan base. And I mean, once you do that, it kind of doesn't matter where you go in the process because everything is transferable. You can talk to a clothing company or start a clothing company from the music or whatever the case may be because of the community you've built. You can go into food like Bun B did with Trill Burger based off of the community that he built and the name that he has based off of like his career and so on and so forth. So that was a great example. The next, I'm gonna go into like the podcasting space. Joe Button, he's a prime example of a building a community and kind of letting his talent or his community lead him into another avenue. So he was a rapper. He's I'm not gonna say it was failed or not. He could be bigger. I'm not gonna say he could be bigger. Joe Budden is very valid. Um, but took it from a musical standpoint, had people who still was listening to him, rocking with him for whatever reason, like whatever you like Joe Budden was your reason, but took it to a space where he's now talking and being more of that critical mind, giving insight about whatever it is, the insider information about the industry some people may not know, or just giving game as to, or just giving that professional opinion about things and being a trusted voice in that space. Um, I think it was a great way to kind of transition from music to podcast and just show that your career doesn't have to just be one track minded, especially when you have people who are listening to whatever it is that you're putting out. Another example I would say would be the 85 South show. They came together. Again, a couple of respected minds, comedians that just had something to say, and people liked it. You know, I mean, they came in more of the funny aspect, but they're definitely authentic in their messaging and everything that they talk about. I've sat there and watched their podcast plenty of times and just die laughing just because of the crazy, most off the wall things that they talk about. And a lot of the times I would say it's more so niche, whatever it is you're looking for. But hey, the people who enjoy it. And I mean, that's all the reason in how you build a community. The thing is, you're supposed to focus on the people who are focusing on you. So theirs was to be funny, and that's what they did. So overall recap of the webinar. Okay, fans give you attention, but your super fans will give you longevity. A community isn't built overnight. It is built by showing up and being consistent. Authenticity turns a listener into a believer. Vulnerability creates a more in-depth connection with your fans, while exclusivity makes fans feel chosen. Creativity keeps fans inspired to stay on top of the journey with you. And again, there's no blueprint to building a community. It's on you to find out what resonates with your fans and you just leaning into that at the best of your ability. And I don't see that there's many questions going on, but if there was, I'm gonna give it a couple minutes to kind of go about giving those. But if not, then I mean, that's it. I appreciate everybody that came out and apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but just bear with us. We'll definitely give you more insight and music pro tips as we go. I appreciate y'all for coming out.